All right, everyone. Welcome to our latest CyCast, and we have an outstanding guest today, and former Cyclone men's basketball player Stevie Johnson, who played at Iowa State from 1997 to 2000, was a member of two of the best teams in school history, and his senior year still owns the school record for field goal percentage in a season at 66.3%. Congrats, Stevie, and welcome to the show, Stevie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mike. It's my pleasure. I didn't know that. I didn't know I still had the record, but it was pretty easy when you get layups.
Well, you still got to make them. You still got to make them. Let's get started from the beginning, Stevie. Beaumont, Mississippi, not a very big town. How did you get noticed playing in such a small little high school in Mississippi?
Yeah. So my city was, when I was growing up there, I think it was about 2,000 people. I started to go to basketball camps, to the surrounding areas when I was younger. We didn't really have any teams until I was in almost junior high that for basketball. Maybe when I was in the 5th and 6th grade, we started to develop, little teams. And I remember the first time that I ever played within the school, we would play street ball, but the first time I ever played, I did pretty good, and it was, against the bigger kids. So it just kind of took off from there. I remember, going into my 8th grade year in junior high, that more people was coming to our junior high game than the high school because I was already dunking, and, it was a sight.
Yeah.
So really what propelled me, I think, to start getting recruited by a lot of people. A guy named Gerald Snyder had an invitational basketball camp. He would go. I remember being at the South Alabama camp, I think, because I went there in the summer, and I remember seeing Kelvin Cato there, but didn't know, that it was actually Kelvin Cato. I had to put it together once I had got to Iowa State again, and that was the guy that was at South Alabama. But ended up going to Gerald Snyder's showcase camp in Jackson and doing really well. And that may have been maybe between my sophomore and junior season, I'm thinking. And I did really well there, and it just blew up. So many schools. But probably Iowa State had the fast track because Coach Floyd babysitting my high school basketball coach.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because Coach Floyd, some people don't know this, but he has a lot of ties in that area, doesn't he?
He's from Hattiesburg.
He's from Hattiesburg, and his dad was the head coach at Southern Miss.
Mm-hmm.
And so that connection probably helped, didn't it?
That helped Iowa State. That really helped me come, because I don't want to get too far, but I took 3 visits. I went to the University of Miami. I went to Indiana, Bob Knight, in Iowa State. And Iowa State wasn't my first choice. It was very cold. A Mississippi boy coming who's never seen any snow. Literally it would sleet or snow a little bit. Everything would be shut down. So my dad really trusted Tim Floyd. And that's probably the reason why I ended up at Iowa State. Yeah.
Well, your first year at Iowa State, Stevie, you couldn't ask for a more loaded team. And, you're a freshman and you played as a freshman, key role player on one of the best teams we ever had. And just tell me what that was like that first season when you had, 5 seniors in Kelvin Cato, Kenny Pratt, Dedrick Willoughby, Sean Bankhead, and J.C. Holloway. What was it like to come in as a freshman on that team that was so stocked and very experienced?
It was a great learning experience for me. Coming from high school, and I was highly recruited and able to do anything I wanted to do, on the basketball court. Just learning how it is to be a college student and a college basketball player. Because anybody, at that time, Coach Floyd was one of the best coaches in the country. And he was known for his practices. And it was tough. It was a learning process for me. But just soaking up, I was good at being able to sit back and listen and just soak up how things went. And just seeing the dynamics of the team. and learning, like in college at that time, you had really two scores every night. Then you needed that third X factor to score. And the game was finishing, 60-58. So Dedrick Willoughby and Kenny Pratt was our main guys scoring. And sometimes you would have Cato, sometimes, every now and then Bankhead, but he was the best defender in the league. Just learning. I got to learn a little bit from all those guys. And I roomed with JC on the road, just seeing how he controlled things and how he, kind of was the pulse of the team. And he didn't have the biggest role. People would, if you go back to naming people on the team, you may forget him, but he was critical in what we did.
Yeah. Well, and, you mentioned Kelvin Cato earlier. What was it like to try to attempt a shot against him in practice?
I've never seen anybody like Cato. I ended up, I got lucky and I got to play about 13 years after Iowa State overseas. With his size, and he was 7 foot or whatever he was, but his wingspan was like ridiculous. He could jump higher than anybody on the team. At his side, he could run up and down. You've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And we played really great defense, but if for some reason somebody got by you, it wasn't gonna be easy to get it over him because he was such a great shot blocker and with both hands. If you go back and look at his highlight, most of his shots was with his left hand.
Yeah.
And Coach Floyd challenged him, like I was just watching the Bill Russell documentary a few days ago.
I watched it too. Great show.
Oh my God. But Coach Floyd challenged him like, Cato, yeah, it's cute. It looks good when you throw it in the stand, but throw it that way. Let's start the fast break.
Yeah.
So he was blocking it literally. We knew, like, it was so funny. You'll get beat and like, oh crap. That's what you said, get beat. You turn around, you see he there, you will already take off because you knew he was going to block the shot down into the other end. Yeah. So he started a fast break for us.
Yeah, and one play stands out for me that you just said what he could do was I don't know if you remember this. It was it might have been the year before. Mm-hmm. It actually was the year before, Stevie. So Iowa State was playing Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Nebraska had a lead with the final minute. They were, trying to go up by 3. Guy drives. Kelvin Cato blocks the guy's shot, blocks it off the backboard, straight run out for Willoughby, lays it in, fouled, game over. And those are the things that he could do. He just totally changed the game.
He changed the game without even having to score.
Yeah.
Like he changed the game. It was such, just watching him, like it was amazing. Like he's one of the best, to me, one of the best college shot blockers I've ever, witnessed. Never anybody like, people always ask me, like, what do you think about the team your freshman year and your team your senior year? Well, Cato will make it difficult for people, to play.
Yeah.
And to me, Pfizer was one of the best players I ever played with, like on the post, but he was 6'8". Cato, I don't know if you remember, we went to, I want to say it was go to the Sweet 16 with Danny Fortson, who was one of the best players in the country, he was kind of built like Pfizer, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Because he was so smart. He never jumped before. He never got in foul trouble jumping. He would leave his feet after you, and he would block shots. He made it very difficult.
Yeah. Well, that season, Stevie, was a phenomenal year. The team made the Sweet 16. You just talked about the Cincinnati game where you knocked off Cincinnati, who were the higher seed, went to the Sweet 16 to play UCLA. And I just – I made the mistake of watching the replay of that game. Don't ask me why, but I did. I really think that they're going to call that push off. Today's rules, don't you think that would be a push off now?
It's so different. The style of play is so different. But I just remember because I know Toby Bailey. Now, I met him, live in California, and I know him. And sometimes he sent me a picture of, it was me and Paul Shirley on the bench, and it looked like we would cry. I don't know where he got that picture from. Maybe he got it in a clip or something. But I always tell him, we gave y'all that. We was up 20 points at halftime. Like, we was up 20 points. And if I still believe it, if Willoughby would have been 100%, we win. He was on one leg out there, and he was still the best player on the court. Like,
he made 8 threes in that game.
He was limping, and they still couldn't stop him. Like, he was amazing. He was amazing too. People don't understand. Like, we would go through practice. You never seen Dedrick miss a shot. When he missed, we knew like what happened. Like he was an amazing shooter. So yeah, that was. I've never went back and watched none of those games. That game or my senior year, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I'm the idiot that did it this week. So
don't do it.
Obviously that season ended, Stevie, and I mean, pretty much the whole team's gone. You lose six seniors, and so now you're going into your sophomore year, and you have a great chance to play right away, and you do. But how challenging was that year? Because right off the bat, the rumors about Coach Floyd going to the Bulls were swirling. Did that affect that team a little bit?
I think it may have.
Yeah.
I just remember that that would have been. We had a really great recruiting class coming in. We had
probably one of the best in school history.
Yeah, we had a lot of players, and I remember because it's so different than what it is now. And I'll tell you a story a little later. I had came back to visit when Fred was there. Mm-hmm. So back then, the coach was like, when you went into the basketball office, nobody said anything. It was like church. You could hear, they would come to the door. Your Tim's in the office, or Larry's in the office. So everybody's whispering. So it was just this aura, with these coaches. It was like when I went to Indiana, and I was there with AJ Guyton, who ended up going there and had a great career. They were warming up, and it was about 2 minutes before the game, and you hear the people just go crazy, and you can't see anything. Everybody's standing like, what's going on? Never seen it. Bob Knight is walking on the court. So that's kind of how it was for, Tim and Larry. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first meeting we had after they had, I think it was called the Big 22 Classic.
Yep.
We're finna meet the team. We finna meet Coach Floyd, for the first time, everybody together. And I remember Marcus and I think it was Henderson who ended up not coming.
Yeah, Gerard Henderson.
Yeah. They were clipping their fingernails or something. I don't know what it was. It was like, and me and Paul Schroeder just looked at each other like, this is not going to be good. Because it was coming from high school, not knowing what's going on, and then coming to this very structured, strict.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, we're going to be running every day. Most of our practice is going to be just, running instead of, but we had a lot of maturity to do.
Yeah.
And Coach Floyd and Coach Stacey, both, they wasn't the easiest coaches to play for. You go back and look at those, my 4 years there, at least 20 players, really good players probably transferred. Mm-hmm. So it was learning how to come from high school. It's not easy for somebody like Marcus Fowler, who's a McDonald All-American. You've been told you've been great since you was in the 8th grade, and now you got to come here. And the thing with the coaches, then they just chop you down so they can make you play into their system. It's hard to chop people down like that. So just learning how to the college game and learning how to adjust to the college, it was challenging, and we knew Coach Floyd probably was leaving. And I remember watching the Last Dance, and I don't know even if I should. When I got to Iowa State, I remember Coach Floyd calling me one day, and I came down, and I don't even know if I probably should be even saying this over here, but anyway, he picked me up. We went riding, and Jerry Krause was there.
Yeah,
they were great friends. And I knew that day, that was my first year there, that he was no longer going to be there.
He wasn't going to be there, yeah.
Because it was already in the papers in Mississippi,
Yep.
That he was leaving. And we were asking, your parents asked, oh, no, I'm not going anywhere. But, yeah, it was already.
Yeah. Well, heading into your junior year now, obviously you have to deal with a new coach. And, Marcus Fizer had just finished his freshman year. And I think a lot of people forget that Marcus was good his freshman year, but he probably went through some struggles that year. And but so now Marcus is going to be a sophomore, you're going to be a junior, and you have a new coach. Did you ever think about transferring, or was it always like I'm gonna commit to Iowa State for all 4 years? Or I just wonder if you ever had thoughts, because I know a lot especially in that era when there would be turnover in coaches. There'd be a lot of people thinking about going somewhere else.
I thought about it, but back then it wasn't like now. You had to sit out a year, and it just took so long, and I didn't want to sit out, because the guy who recruited me to Iowa State was Coach Green, and he had went to Southern Miss. So I learned early on, that this is a business, because these people have been telling me, the coaches from Iowa State been telling me Southern Miss, oh no, you shouldn't go there, blah blah. And now he gets the job, and now it's okay for me to go there. So I thought about it, but I was always like, the way my dad and mom raised me, I thought about, like, okay, this is going to be a challenge, and things wasn't going like I had planned. When I came to Iowa State, I was one of the top recruits to come, and I'm thinking it's going to be, I'm going to ascend and do great. And I was starting to kind of play myself into a role there, and I did think about it, but they had a phone call with us, and everybody was on the call, and it's, they kind of told us, to come and give it. And I had no idea who Larry Stacey was. I had no idea, anything about him. So I'm like, okay, I'll stay and, just work and see if I can make the best of it.
Yeah. And that 1998-99 season was probably when Iowa State fans really, started seeing you blossom, and Marcus as a sophomore. That team started playing really well late in the year, and even though a lot of people didn't think much of the next year's team, but there was some great games down the stretch of that 98-99 season, especially that win over Kansas at home. How much do you think that the late season success of the 98-99 season helped get going for the 99-2000 season?
Coach Stacey was starting. We went through a lot of turnover that year, and he was getting his system and his style of play into everything, which it took a while, and with Mike being there and some of the core guys being there, Marcus, developing every year, becoming, from this freshman to one of the leaders on the team. We felt like, we had a lot of good stuff there. It was very tough. Not going to sugarcoat it. It was very difficult, but we could possibly, have a pretty good team the next year. And Cantrell had came, and he couldn't play, but he was practicing with us. And
he came at semester and sat out, correct?
Mm-hmm,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But he was practicing, and he was real good. And Travis Spivey was there. He was super, he was really tough. And it looked like we were going in the right direction.
Yeah. The next year, which would be your senior year, Stevie, and
Mm-hmm.
we're moving along a little fast here.
Yeah.
It's been told a million times. There were a lot of preseason polls that picked you guys to finish last.
Mm-hmm.
And did that maybe give you an edge? And then when did you start seeing early on that this team had a lot of talent? And to help the fans out there who are just learning and listening, Jamal Tinsley comes in from a junior college, kind of unheard of. He was from a California JUCO. Probably didn't get the press that the other national JUCOs get. A lot of people didn't know much about him. And he comes in, you got Marcus Pfizer as a junior, you got yourself as a senior, and you got Michael Nurse and Contrell Horton. You guys probably knew right away that you're going to be good, but like, how much of an edge did it give you guys knowing that a lot of people were already writing you off?
To be honest with you, like, we didn't think about that a lot, because you had Martine Rancid, you had Paul Shirley. We had really, really good players. We didn't focus on that portion of it. It was like, it was a grind every day.
Yeah.
And we knew, like, the way we practiced, and it was very detail oriented, that we would give ourselves a chance to be in the game. We would give ourselves a chance to be in every game. Did I know it was going to be what it was? No. Like, I didn't know that at the beginning of the season. But once we started to play, and I saw how we jailed, and, I'm like, man, we can be okay. But it was different for me, because it was just like a roller coaster season for me. that year. Like Paul Shirley get hurt, Martin Rancic get hurt.
He got hurt, and yeah, because you were kind of forced to have to play a ton of minutes because of those 2 injuries.
Well, I wasn't gonna play. Like I was like, I don't know what happened. So we went to. I don't remember if it was Hawaii or Alaska, where we played. I think it was Hawaii. We played.
I'll look it up right now, Stevie. Just hang on.
We played Drake. I want to say we played Drake before we went there.
Yes, that's correct.
We lost to Drake. So we're driving on the bus back to Hilton Coliseum, and I think we literally was going to get our bags, and then we had to get on the plane to go to.
And it was Hawaii. It was Hawaii.
To go to Hawaii. So we getting ready to get off the bus, and the assistant coaches said, "Okay, Larry want to meet you guys in the office." I'm like, "Oh God, you know what's what's about to happen?" And I thought I had played pretty good that game. Like I was like the second lead scorer. Not that I was shooting the ball, but I think I had 12 points and I had the most rebounds on the team. We get there and coach just ate me alive. It was all like, I don't know what's going on. Like it was, Stevie, you did this, this, and this, and blah, blah. And, I go pack my clothes. We go to Hilo and we played the team there. And for some reason, I just kept getting the ball around the basket and ended up scoring a lot of points and, had a pretty good game, rebound.
Yeah. And
coach told me I was like selfish and I was doing like, I didn't know what was going on. So he ended up benching me and said, "You're not going to play, no more." I didn't get to play against, I want to say Arkansas.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I didn't get to play against Arkansas or Cincinnati, which you played against them in championship. And that was the toughest time because we're almost halfway through the season, so there's no way I can transfer. I remember they had a meeting with me, and a lot of people don't know this. I don't think I ever shared it. They had a meeting with me in Hawaii, and he basically told me I'd never play again at Iowa State. I'm just like worst player on the team. I don't know. A lot of stuff. So I'm thinking, I remember going to the lobby, getting on a payphone, calling my dad in tears. I remember Lamar Odom and other guys was running around, and it was like the payphone was in the middle of the hotel, so everybody could see, could see me.
Yeah, Kenyon Martin was there too. Kenyon Martin was there. Yeah. Yep.
So I'm like, what am I gonna do? My dad, he just said, "Man, just pray about it and just keep working." But honestly, and me and Paul and Cantrell and all of them talk. If Paul and Martin didn't get hurt, I would never play again because I came back and it ended up they got injured. And I just, to stay on the court, I did whatever I had to do, which was usually guard one of the tough players and rebound my butt off and just be tough.
And you did both very, very well that year. And
which I don't know, because some games I was matched up against Chris Mims, and he was so, so
exactly.
But I was really strong and I was really quick, so it worked,
Yep.
But it just took off. We jailed and I think I don't know how it would have went if Paul and Martin didn't get hurt. I definitely feel like with them on the court, given that other scoring, because they both, we would have been really tough if those guys wasn't hurt. I don't think I would have had a big role, but I definitely think that team would have been great either way because Marcus was he was phenomenal. Like down the stretch when we went on the Texas Fort. Marcus was averaging 40 points a game,
It was crazy.
It was nuts. To me, he was the best college, nothing from Kenyon Martin. And Kenyon was great and had a great NBA career. But Marcus was one of the best players in college that year.
He was. He was.
He was a man amongst boys.
Yeah.
And but Kenyon was such a great defender, and he was so, so I can see why he got hurt,
He did. That's right. He broke his leg, or I think.
He broke his leg. So I'm thinking Marcus is going to get Player of the Year, but he didn't get it. But he was definitely deserving.
I would probably, and you would probably admit this too. Your middle 2 years at Iowa State, and it's not a knock on anyone, but probably one of Iowa State's struggles was consistent point guard play. And then your senior year, you get Jamal Tinsley.
Mm-hmm.
And how tough was it for the players to adapt to his ball handling and passing? Were there times when a ball would just come whizzing by you and you had no idea it was coming, or did it take a while to kind of get used to that? Because it seemed like once you did, he was going to find you in the right spot, wasn't he?
Yeah. And what people may not remember, we had was it C.J. Bruton from Australia who ended up
he was supposed to be on your team. That's right.
Yeah, he was supposed to come that year, but ended up going pro, and I think that would have helped. But the good thing for me is we got to play with Jamal in the summer. So you learn pretty quick. If you didn't get your hand, if you weren't ready, the ball would hit you in the face.
Yeah.
So I was luckily blessed with, good hands, and, I could anticipate things. So I always saw it coming. That's why he would give it to me, because I was going to catch it. And most of the time I could finish it. And I learned, I think one of the good things for me, and it went on with me overseas, because I played with Kelvin Cato my freshman year. So I learned how to kind of get the ball high around the basket.
Yeah.
So just being able to play with Jamal in the summer, it gave, like, hey, you better be ready, because he's not really looking to shoot it. He want to pass it to you. So just be ready. If you catch it and you finish, you're okay. Now, if you miss the pass, he would get upset and he might not give it to you again.
Yeah.
So, you kind of learn that, playing pickup, he was amazing. Like, what he was doing out there was just amazing. Like, people don't even understand, like, the things he would do in practice, going between guys' leg with the ball. Like, he was really fun to watch. And it was just like, it was being a part of that team. One of the best teams I've probably been on in my life. It was just like, to see it from day one to the last game, it was pretty special.
Well, and how influential was he to help you with that school record, field goal percentage? Because you just got to the spot, beat your guy down low, and the ball's going to be there, isn't it?
Yeah, it was him. I rebounded a lot because I wasn't able, I couldn't shoot. They told me you can't shoot.
Yeah.
Even if you get the rebound, Stevie, you find Mike, Cantrell, or Pfizer. So I wasn't even allowed to shoot on a lot of the offensive rebounds unless I got it right there. So I was smart enough, though, because they basically wasn't guarding me, to put myself in a position around the basket where it made it easy to get offensive rebound, or I get it and just go up really fast with it. So
yeah.
You learn on the court. Like, that was one good thing about me. I was able to learn small details, because it's the smallest details that win games and loses games for you.
Absolutely.
And just being 6'4", first of all, it wasn't going to take me long to get it up to the basket. That's where I see a lot of the big men. It takes them too long from the time they catch it to the time. Like, that's a big frustration of mine, because I was taught to be already stepping into it and it's up before these guys have a chance. So Jamal was like, I could run that floor, and it was like he was a quarterback, and I'm going to beat that guy down the court because I'm going against a four. It was right there, and you could just lay it up.
Yeah. The one thing, Stevie, you obviously, great jumping ability, but the one thing that I always noticed about your game, what made it so good, was that not only could you jump, but you had quick instincts to do it, before the defense was set. Was that just something just innate, or did you work on that?
It was hereditary. My dad was a great athlete, and I always played against, because I didn't grow after 14 years old. So I was 6'4".
Okay.
So I always played with older people. I always played with my older cousins. I always played with bigger guys in the neighborhood. So I learned just small little things that I didn't even know I was doing until I got overseas. And a coach, my coach my first year in Iceland, was trying to get me to help some of the postmen. And Stevie, show them how you do. You just flick the ball up there really fast. I'm like,
yeah.
What are you talking about?
You just do it.
You just flick it up there. Oh, okay. So I just get it and go. So I didn't even know it was instincts. It was just athletic ability.
Yeah.
And I worked on it, because I know that's the only way I could. I can't out jump everybody, and even if I can out jump them, they're way taller. So how can I get this ball on the glass before he can even get ready to jump? So most of the time, I was already in the air when they getting ready to do this. So it was instincts, and I worked on it. You know, all the drills we did in practice with the big men, I worked on a lot of that stuff because I had to have, Coach Floyd said, angle to the basket because I'm not going to go right over you. I need an angle, and I can just get it off the glass.
Yeah. That 99-2000 team, people forget how close you guys were to running the table in the Big 12. Your only two losses were on the road in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
One was a half-court shot by Jackway Walls at Colorado. Sorry to bring that up. But
Yeah.
but that was a 14-2 season. And, the one thing that, I've worked here almost 30 years, and to me, the buzz around the last two home games were you guys had to play Texas and Oklahoma State, which by far were probably the next 2 or 3 best teams in the league, plus Kansas. And you had them at home. And I've never seen a buzz around this town. Do you recollect the town just going crazy? Because if Iowa State beats Texas and Oklahoma State, you're probably in the driver's seat to win the league for the first time since 1945.
Yeah.
But do you remember the feeling going into those last two home games?
Yeah, I do, because Coach Stacy was on us so hard because he was still driving. Nobody respect you. You guys they still don't expect you to beat Oklahoma. They still think Texas is going to come in here and beat your butt. And he will always put it to, by the time we got on the floor, we were just so angry and so ready to go that it was like, we're going to kill it. There's no way they're going to beat us. There's no way. And I tell people, and I think, and I'm biased, of course, because I went to Iowa State. If you let me if my job is to travel around the country and see these arenas and the best place to play, it's hard for me to pick somewhere beside Iowa State. And I've never been to Camden. I've never been to Duke. And I know those smaller stadiums sometimes, because when we used to play at Oklahoma State, when it was small, it was tough.
Yep.
You had a little cowboy going shooting a gun. It was tough because it seemed like they're right on top of you,
Yeah.
But I remember in those games at Texas and Oklahoma State, it was so loud, the floor would shake. You tell me the other team is going to be able to, it was like, I still get goosebumps. I still get chills just thinking about that. And I remember Pfizer dunking over Mims in that game, and it was like, there's no way it's over. It was
done. It was done after that.
Yeah, they all running with their heads down. There's no way you guys can beat us. It's not going to even the atmosphere was just amazing. It was. I wish I could put it in words, but I always tell anybody, go watch a basketball game in Iowa State at Hill. When that is, to me, that was probably the one thing that kept me there. You say about transferring, it was the people in the city, because people treated us very well. I felt like that was my home after being there for 2 years, and for me, the basketball wasn't going the way I had planned. But it was the people always treated us with respect, treated us great. And playing in Hilton was one of probably the thing that kept me there, to be honest.
Yeah.
When things are not going well for me, I felt like, to be honest, Mike, I felt like a failure. I would go home and I couldn't even, my guys were like, Stevie, you're not playing like we saw you. I didn't even feel like myself because I was very robotic on the court. But fans never made me feel like that.
Yeah.
Your rebounds help us win the game. We didn't care about, people, you just rebound and defend it. That was not what a role that you would want. But I bought into the fact that, okay, I'm going to, if this is all I can do, then I'm going to do it better than anybody.
Yep.
And I'm not going to be the reason at the end of the game when they come and they look at it, well, I'm not going to be the reason why Iowa State lost. My man is not going to score. I'm going to get the most, this is what I got to do to help this team win. And I bought into it, and I just try to do it my best. But I wish people could really see. I always tell my brothers, because some of them didn't get to come to the game, you have to go to a basketball game at Iowa State, because it's electric.
Yeah. And you helped make it electric, Stevie. And that last regular season Big 12 game that year was at Baylor. And if you win, you're outright champs for the first time since 1945, 55 years. What was the feeling like when you guys beat Baylor and clinched the Big 12 title? I mean, was there relief, or was there excitement, or it was just like on to the next because you got more things to accomplish?
We played for Larry Eustace, so it wasn't to celebrate. It was like, now we got the Big 12 tournament. Like, it was always like, the thing about it, like my freshman year and my senior year, and I didn't appreciate any of this till after I was gone. And now I look back at the teams and I look, man, we're still one of the best teams. You couldn't appreciate it because we were so driven and we were so like with just blindfolds on, and the coaches we had wouldn't allow you to like really appreciate it, which was good, I guess. But it was on to the next task.
Yeah.
Now we think about, okay, we just won a championship. You would think you would better relax, but now we got to win the Big 12 championship. That's what we went right to, thinking, okay, now we got to win the Big 12 championship. And
you did win the Big 12 championship
yeah.
in that final game for the title against Oklahoma State. And people forget that Oklahoma State game, that Oklahoma State team made the Elite Eight. Very good team, top 10 all year. That game was one of the best games I've ever seen in person, and it went down to the wire. Oklahoma State had a lead with like about 2-3 minutes left, and it didn't look good. But you came up with a big 3-point play late that kind of spurred it along. What do you remember from the closing moments of that game?
I remember everybody looking at it different because if you look on paper, it was a great game for me. I had 20 points, but I missed a lot of free throws early, and I didn't have confidence at the line. So I remember like, I'm going to make sure I put it in just in case I missed it. Anytime I got fouled, I wanted to make sure I made the and one. But I had confidence at the end of the game because I'm like, I'm not missing these. There's no way. And I got some steals and things. There's no way that we're going to lose this game. Oklahoma State was always really tough to play. They were just like us.
Yeah.
If I had to say somebody who was just like us during those years, it was Eddie Sutton's team. They were going to guard their butt out. You was going to be uncomfortable when you played them.
Well, they had Desmond Mason on that team too.
Desmond Mason. Yeah. They had Joe Atkins, Doug Gottlieb.
Gottlieb was on that team, and so was that center Jonesine. Frederick Jonesine was a really good center. But those games were classic games. And obviously, won the regular season title, won the Big 12 tournament. Never been done before in the history of Iowa State basketball. You guys are in the 2 seed, and you get to go to Minneapolis, which was great because our fans. But was there still maybe a little disappointment that you didn't get a 1 seed?
Look, we won 30-something games. How did you not give us a 1 seed?
Yeah.
So that's easy for Coach Stacy. That's easy. Look at this. You guys are 2 seed. They don't respect you.
Yeah.
You just won, like, you beat everybody who they put in front of you, beating everybody who you wasn't supposed to beat. The Texas and the Big 12 was the Big 12 back then too. So it was one of the best conferences. You don't beat everybody, but still you're number 2 seed. You won the regular season and the tournament, and you're not a number 1 seed. Like, how's that even possible? So
probably the only time that's probably ever happened, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't have the answer in front of me, but I can't imagine many teams win the Big 12 and the Big 12 tournament and don't earn a 1 seed.
And I don't remember. I think it was like 32-5 or 32. It was something like how are we not?
Yeah. Well, and obviously once you get into the NCAA tournament, you knock off Central Connecticut State, you knock off Auburn. Now you're on to the Sweet 16, and everyone remembers UCLA destroyed Maryland. I think it was Maryland, right?
Yes.
And they were just all of a sudden the talk of the tournament. And now you got to play UCLA in the Sweet 16 up in the Palace in Auburn Hills. And it wasn't even a game, was it?
It was so fun. It's so funny because I bring, like I told you, Toby Bailey from UCLA, he sent me a clip of me and Paul my freshman year. And then I always bring up what we did to him our senior year.
Yeah.
But we had Coach Stacy, we sat there, I think, and watched the first half of the Maryland and UCLA game. And they must have had 30 dunks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They must have had 30 dunks. So when
they just ran him out of the gym.
We watched film, Coach, if they dunk one time, he's gonna kill us. That's like they better not dunk one time in the basket. That was his game plan. They won't dunk. If they don't dunk, they won't beat us. And that's how we saw it. If you gotta play 5-on-5 against us, the shot clock, I think we're a more organized and a more structured team, then you're not gonna have a chance. And they didn't. I don't know. I'm sure they had a dunk here or there, but it wasn't more than two. It wasn't.
Yeah, if there was one, it was late in the game.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. It was never close. And we knew like the players they had and how we matched up. Like I wasn't really too worried about them. Like one of the guys, Mauricio, which was 6'11", French. I was worried about his length. Because I have to guard him, so I got to make sure I push him out. I got to make sure he don't get close because my job, being a good defender in the post, was before you catch the ball. Like I was really strong, so I got to push you out further away. If he get it too close, that's gonna be too easy. So we end up getting way more dunks than them.
Yep. Well, and then the famous Michigan State game, and obviously a tough ending. And I'm sorry to bring up Stevie, but like the last 5 minutes, a lot of weird things happened, a lot of bad things that didn't really go Iowa State's way, and it's really unfortunate because it was such a unbelievable season, first of all, and a really good game that you guys played. But when that last 5 minutes happened, I know it's really hard to talk about still, and like you said, you haven't really watched the game, but was there a sense of like, first of all, having to play Michigan State, the number 1 seed in their home? I mean, it's just all those things
in Auburn Palace.
Yeah,
and they did a story. They did a story like the night before of the Flintstone guys. Those guys. It was. I don't remember a lot about that game because I blocked it out. I just know we never got a rhythm the whole game. I think Jamal was in foul trouble. I think Marcos. Nothing went right for us at all. And it's just one play I remember more than anything. We came out of timeout or right before timeout. They end up getting the alley-oop from Cleaves to Peterson. And that's the only play I really remember about the entire game, to be honest with you. Because I always think to myself, man, I should have hedged harder. You think about your mistakes. Like I should have. Why wasn't I there to stop him from getting? That's the only thing I can really remember. I just remember it was horrible. Like in Michigan State, I think Tom Izzo is one of the greatest coaches of all time in college. He's really tough. Mm-hmm. Him and his players are getting a fight almost on the court. But if you talk to any of his players outside of the court, they love him.
Yeah,
he brings them back. He like I love him for that. And they played exactly like we played. Our goals that season was we was going to out-rebound every team, and we was going to play good defense. And that was going to give us a chance to win. And that was the same thing they did. So we was playing against ourselves, and they just had a better game.
Yeah.
Like I honestly, I go back and I just think about it, what if or whatever. I don't think they would. If we get to play 10 times, I think the outcome would be different.
Yeah.
But that would hurt because I think if we won, we would play Florida in the next round. I think if we would.
I think that's right. Yep.
Yeah, and
they met Florida. They actually met Florida in the national championship game. I guess I can't remember.
I can't remember who it was. Yeah, maybe I think it was Florida because, and I like that matchup.
Yeah,
Pfizer against Haslam, and they had Mike Miller, but we played good defense, and we wasn't gonna let him catch the ball. But that was a tough one. That I still haven't got over that. I like you never forget your last game.
Yeah,
and you just wish that you could have did something different to change the outcome.
Yeah. Well, your career ended for basketball, but you had a unique decision that you made that most people probably wouldn't have done, but you did something that was so rare, is that you decided to go off of football. And I got a couple questions to ask you, Steve. One,
of course.
Did you even play football in high school?
No.
And who conned you into going out?
so this is the thing. Coach Rhodes, Paul Rhodes, he was the defensive back coach. Since I was like a freshman or sophomore, Coach Rhodes always, Steve, you need to come out and play. Because he would always come to the game. And he would talk to me. Coach Rhodes would talk to me after, like, that steal you got, you could be out there on the football field, doing this, doing that. So then, like, my senior year, my career came and went. I'm not going to, didn't think I would get a chance to play after college. Coach Tony Alford said, you need to come out here and play. You need to come out here. You can play. I didn't even know I was allowed to play a fifth year. I didn't know that,
Yeah.
Coach Alford said, Stevie, and I talked to my dad about it. And he said, yeah, man, you should try it, because the thing was, I played football in junior high, was great. Played a couple of games in high school and was really good. I was usually the fastest person on the field. Like,
yep.
I just had attributes for it would have been easier for me to play football than basketball because I didn't end up growing anymore. And for 6'4" and can run really fast and was very short, it would have been better. But I knew nothing about football. Like, I come from Beaumont, Mississippi, where the best athlete on the field usually going to be, I didn't have any technique. I wasn't taught how to do this and that. So I knew nothing. And that was the biggest thing. And I look back on it. I didn't think it was when I did it, I didn't think much of it. I look back on it now and I'm like, man, that was pretty impressive. Because I actually played a little bit. I was behind Derek
Walker.
Derek Walker. And I still talk to my coach, my linebackers coach. And it was one of the best years. I got to be with Reggie. I got to be with James. I got to be with all these guys, Sage. And I got to see Iowa State football change from when I first got there to they were getting ready to, I just was lucky to be a part of that team. And I'm glad they accepted me and got a chance to actually play a little bit. And I didn't start to understand the game, Mike, until the end of the year. Because they were speaking a different language to me.
Absolutely.
I had no idea. Most of the time, I had no idea what I was doing. But I was so athletic that I would make up for it.
Yeah.
If I made a false step, then I could get back in, But I didn't really learn until the end of the year. I started to get things like, this is easy. It started to click for me, But I look back at it, it was pretty amazing. But then it was just like, man, I want to try it.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting, Stevie, is there's not going to be any Cyclone in the history of the athletic department ever can say they played in an Elite Eight NCAA basketball game and to win a bowl game.
Yeah.
And not only, you were key parts of both. And that's the thing that was, was amazing about it, is that you actually contributed in football when a lot of people thought that you wouldn't even, step foot on the field. And let's go into what was that was like for you. So you did these great things in basketball, you switched to football, and then you're a part of a team now that had made a bowl game for the first time in 22 years. And then you go and win it.
Yeah.
And then, the one play in that game is the Jermaine Billups a punt return.
Yeah.
What was that like on the sideline when he was doing that?
It was, to me, I felt like we were the better team. They had some really good guys. They had the I think his name was Bryant, their wide receiver.
Antonio Bryant.
Antonio Bryant. I think he was the Biletnikoff winner.
Yeah, he was really good.
He was good. They had a running back like Barlow who was a monster.
Yeah, Kevin Barlow.
But we was I thought we had a better team.
Yeah.
But one thing happened. I want to say JJ, I don't know if he got concussed or what happened. I think he got hurt early.
Yeah, he got knocked out of the game in the first half.
JJ was so good that year. People don't understand. He was so good. That year, he was amazing. He did so much for the offense.
Mm-hmm.
But I never felt like we was going to lose the game. I never felt like it. And then when Billups broke the kickoff or the punt back, I'm like, oh, it's over. We got him.
Yeah.
We got this. And Reggie was great. James Reed, that defensive line, our defensive line was so good. Those guys didn't get
probably one of the best in school history.
They don't get the credit from Brian Harkloff to Ryan. They don't get the credit that they deserve, but they were so good and they led that team.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to be a part of that. Like I was just so blessed to be, like I didn't do anything special or I didn't do anything to deserve it, but to be a part of both of those teams or three teams that I thought was really good, it was just a blessing. And I'm glad I didn't leave Iowa State and I stayed, and I maybe I didn't have the individual success that I thought I would, but I think I can match my career up against a lot of people who
Yeah.
went to Iowa State, and it a team success. It will be up there with anybody, I think.
Well, there's no doubt about that, Stevie. And then, you kind of alluded to earlier that, you didn't think that maybe you're going to play basketball at the next level, but you ended up doing just that.
Yeah.
In fact, you played, a lot of people don't know this, but you played maybe longer
than anybody.
Than anybody. You played
Yeah.
15 years. Am I wrong? 15 years as a pro.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was in Iceland. Is that correct?
No. First 2 years in Iceland.
First 2 years. Okay.
Yeah. So, and how that happened was after football season, I went to the basketball office. I was going to, play some hoops or whatever. One of the managers there, one of the GAs there said, Stevie, do you want to, play basketball again? I said, yeah. He was from Iceland. And he said, well, I got a friend in Iceland. I said, man, yeah. What do I need to do? So he talked to somebody and said, oh, they're going to, put you on a team. And then 9/11 happened. So I was getting ready to leave. That happened. So it prolonged it a little bit. But when I got there, I had played football, so I was 240 pounds from being 220. I hadn't really played competitive basketball in a while. And I had lost a step because I was always so fast. And I was making the same moves I always making, but I wasn't going by anybody. I'm like, what's going on? So I remember my first game over there, preseason, we won. And maybe I had 20 points, had a lot of assists. And my coach, he was Icelandic, but he played basketball in the States. He said, you have to score 30 points every game or they're going to send you home. Like, what? We won. And I had been always, I had went from being a superstar in high school. I was the second leading scorer in Mississippi history when I left Mississippi, to being a role player for 4 years and only cared about winning, to now somebody telling me, well, we need to win, but more importantly, you need to score a lot of points so they're going to send you home. That's just how it is.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah. But I end up averaging 34 points, I think, that year, and 30 the next year. And I end up going to Spain for 8 years, had a great career there. Had 2 really good years in Germany, where the MVP there and team went up. So it ended up turning out like it was great. Like I wouldn't give it, change anything about it.
And playing overseas, I'm just guessing you got to see the world, and how awesome was that?
Like, it's amazing. Like, I didn't make a lot of money, but I got to continue to play sports for a living.
Yeah.
For 13, 14 years out of my life, it was awesome. And I got that team camaraderie. Like, the hardest thing about being an athlete is when you're done playing. You miss the actual game, but you miss more, I think, being with your teammates. We had long bus rides overseas, and guys who I played with over there, I'm still friends with to this day. And it was just an unbelievable experience. You would never and I got to play it again. I got to, be myself again on the court. So I went to being a quote unquote superstar again. Well, I'm the MVP of. I won MVP 3 or 4 times over there, and my team won a championship. And I tell a lot of people sometimes, you would never get the feeling like people chanting your name MVP on the opposing court, because I was a good guy. So we was on the road and my fans started, and everybody you can never get that. What job can I do to give me that? Yeah. That feeling, it was amazing. And I got a chance to do that, and people loved me, and I love, being a part of those cultures and going to visit kids in schools. But I knew it was over. Like, by last year or 2 in Germany, we went to a school and we would talk to the kids. And I would ask them, we would ask, who's your favorite player? A lot of them was Dirk, because Dirk was from,
Yeah.
the States, but most of them was Kobe Bryant. And I asked them, what about Michael Jordan? They were like, who was Michael Jordan? And the kid that I'm asking this have on a pair of Jordan shoes. So I'm like, dude, it's definitely time for me to retire. You guys don't know who Michael Jordan is. Like,
time to hang him up.
It's time to hang him up.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Well, once again, Stevie Johnson, we're joined here with Stevie Johnson, one of the greatest Iowa State basketball players and football players. And I got one more question for you, Stevie. Just kind of tell Cyclone fans where you're living now and what are you up to now?
I live in North Hollywood, California. I work for an insurance company. I'm a claim adjuster. So like if you have a disaster at your house, I'm the guy that comes and estimate for it and pay you for that. I've been doing that for probably about 7 years now. I'm probably looking to get out of that, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just living in California and enjoying the weather, and life is good.
Yep. Well, Stevie, you're always welcome back here at Iowa State. You know that. We can't wait to see you again.
Guys so much. I mean, what you guys have been doing with the letter clubs, with like I tell everybody, like I really feel a part of the program again, and that means a lot because without you guys, I wouldn't feel like there was a lot of years that I didn't get to come back or I didn't even know anything what was going. Just watched it on TV and support from afar. But you guys really make us feel like we're a part of the program again, and I really appreciate you guys for that, Mike.
Well, thank you, Stevie, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
For having me. Appreciate it.